counselors at Powell CDC really care. And one of them, Kim, is here today to share her story and why Powell CDC is so good.
You set me free, so I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. Now I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
It's the 19th day of August in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC. Our guest today is Kim Brangocchio. First
Hello?
time?
Yes.
First time, right? She's the director at Powell CDC, and we'll talk to her more as we go on today. Of course, Lila Stafford, who has just been excommunicated from Hope because she hasn't attended all summer long.
Oh, you're telling everybody now.
I'm kidding. But so Lila is here, and she is just head counselor, one of the counselors?
I'm just one of the counselors.
But you're one of the best.
No, it depends who you ask.
We have
I'm not.
lots of great-
good ones.
So Lila is here, and she's one of the counselors at Powell CDC, and every Monday they bring in some of the staff, some of their successful graduating candidates, and we talk about what life was like, what happened, and what life is like now concerning alcohol and drug addiction. And our goal in doing this, we probably aren't talking to the addict or the alcoholic themselves, but perhaps you're the mother or the father or the sister or the brother or the spouse or the concerned working mate. And you don't know exactly what's going on, but you know that you'd like to help if you could do the right thing. And you don't know what the right thing is, and so you don't do anything. And by doing nothing, nothing happens. And so today we're going to try to give you some clues, some tips on ways maybe you can approach these people or have other people help you approach them to get them the help that they need. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And, of course, our soon-to-be father again, Father Tattoo. What do we have? Mercy is expected later this... Is it September or is it still August?
It's September. It's the 15th.
15th of September.
Yeah, so we're under 30 days.
You're under 30 days. I saw on Facebook you were getting everything prepared.
Yeah, we're worked on the nursery a little bit this weekend and worked on our basement to move the kids out of what used to be the nursery because they used to have the playroom in the nursery.
Okay, well, good. Are you excited about being a dad again?
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed at the amount of work I've got yet to do.
That's good. Well, I talked to your wife and we made sure the honey-do list was long.
Yeah,
so you felt the pain.
She doesn't need any more help making it long.
All right. Kim Brandocchio. I said it wrong again. Brangocchio. That's Italian.
Yes, it is.
I take it. And I'm assuming that's not your maiden name.
No, it's Mike's.
You married a wonderful man. I know your husband, and he's just a spectacular guy. Love him. Absolutely love the guy. But you are the director...
Clinical supervisor
at
Powell.
And what does that mean? What do you physically do?
I oversee our programs, and our counseling staff meet with them, talk about the curriculum, what people are doing.
Do you create the curriculum, or do you take a curriculum that somebody else has written?
It was already there, but I watch to make sure that we're still carrying that out, or do we need to make changes? Are there things that we need to do differently?
Okay. Is she a hard boss? Is she like a
No, she
slave
actually is one of the
driver?
best I've ever had.
Really?
Absolutely. I'm not saying that just because she's here.
Yeah,
I've told
no.
her that before.
Yeah, if she didn't like you, she'd tell you that right to your face, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah.
And so what's your passion? Why? Why this? I mean, why not a designer of beautiful dresses? Why not a gourmet chef? Why not a car salesman at a luxury car lot? Why this for your life's work?
Well, for me, I want everyone to know that there's hope. I want everyone to know that they can be successful, that they can have a better life, that things can change for them. I know from my own experience, I have been in some very awful places and struggled with addiction in my own life, and I've seen a lot of people recover.
Yeah.
And I want people to know
what was
that.
the addiction you struggled from?
Well, I struggled from alcohol, and that's the thing that, really got me interested in 12 steps and in recovery programs. But my first addiction, my first thing that I turned to was food. And I turned to that when I was very small, and that's what I used to cope. and that just led to cigarettes and alcohol.
Right. You
and-
just change from one coping mechanism to the next.
Yeah.
Now, you are what I would consider a petite person. Were you at one time larger than that, or was your food addiction in more of the bulimia area?
Well, it wasn't really either of those in terms of I have lost weight, and I am at a good weight for me now, and that's only been in the last about year that I've kind of been successfully staying at this weight and not having trouble. But really, I think I was often a normal weight, but in my mind I wasn't, and
You were
I
fat?
felt ashamed. Yes.
Okay.
And so I'd either diet, binge, or starve or something like that, and just a wrong view of myself.
I'm going to ask a big question. Where does that come from within someone? That everybody else would tell you you're just fine. And yet inside you're so far from fine, it's not even funny.
Right.
You're not almost fine. You're bad in your own mind. Where does that come from? Is that a self-worth? Is that a busted something in your head?
Well, I've spent a lot of time thinking about
I
that.
bet you have. I'll bet you have.
Both as a counselor, as a person, as a child, and as an adult woman, I've thought a lot about it. And there are things that I go back to in my life that I think for me were instrumental in that happening. I came from a family where there was a fair amount of perfectionism. That's often true for addicts, that we don't think we're good enough, so we keep trying and trying and trying, and then when we fail, we just kind of go into the cycle of overdoing something, whether it's alcohol or drugs or
Whatever.
And I also grew up in a very fundamental church, extremely fundamental, and I just felt like I was never good enough. I was a sinner all the time.
Now, do you have siblings?
I do.
Do any of them, can you all sit down and share stories and understand where other people in your family were affected in different ways?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a sister,
Okay.
and she also has had a history with issues, and we have talked about the way that, our home life and our church life really impacted us. And then I can look at our family, and go back in generations and see that there was addiction or other problems. For sure, overeating. I mean, I've got, relatives that have had all kinds of health issues from overeating, but people don't always think of food as an addiction or as
It is.
coping.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if I sat long enough, or I came to you guys long enough, I would realize how food impacts me. I'm not obese, but I'm certainly not within my weight. I mean, I weigh 155 pounds, or I wish, 255 pounds, and at 6 foot, I should probably be more like 200. And I know that I cope because when I'm stressed out, I go to the buffets.
Yeah.
And I fool myself by telling myself I'm going for the multiple selection of fine foods.
Yeah.
But in fact, I eat 4 plates or 5 plates.
Yeah.
So I know how that works. Now, how, Lila, in the people that you deal with, how often is food an issue with their alcohol or their drugs or something else? Half?
I think no, but
Less?
less than that. But I think there's a lot of denial about the food issue, because when people come to us, we're basically trying to think of the drug and alcohol part of it. But what I see a lot of times, people will overeat at the beginning when they're getting sober because their body's going through so many changes. And then there comes a point where they have to then look at the eating part of it. So that goes on. I get the people when they've been in from about 5 weeks sober to 8 weeks sober, and they're just starting to deal with it at that time. Like, I think I've been overeating. But I don't know what portion. A lot of women, though. I was at a party, a 12-step party about a month ago, and there were 8 women there. And as we started talking, every woman had food issues. We're all addicts, alcoholics, but every single one of us, to the point where it's obsessing. We're obsessing all day long with it.
See, that's the other thing I was going to ask. As an alcoholic, I would obsess.
Yeah.
I would plan my whole day around that first drink. And for those of you that just doesn't make any sense, thank God. that it doesn't make sense to you. Truly, you don't. I'm not trying to convince you, but for me, it was, well, do I have enough at home, or do I need to stop? And what I got to get my appointments done so I can get home at the same time, and make sure that I have enough time to drink, and then pass out, and then get a good night's sleep so I can.
It's the
start
same
all
thing
over
with
again.
food. It's the preoccupation, just constantly thinking about what you're going to be eating or how you're going to starve yourself if you've eaten too much. It's a spiral down is what it is.
Okay, tough question for both of you. Why? It is my impression, and so this could be wrong because my impression's wrong. It is my impression that an alcohol or drug addiction is much worse than a food addiction. True or false?
Personally, I would say that that's false.
Okay.
Because,
Same with me.
you know,
False.
So
you
both of you would say the food is worse than the alcohol.
well,
The same
or
as-
equally bad. I mean, for sure, alcohol and drugs are going to do things physiologically maybe quicker, than food. I mean, when I drank a fifth a day, it was terrible for my body. I remember how I felt, but I still can feel hungover from food. Not as bad or not the same way, but if you have too much sugar or too much junk, the next morning you feel foggy and hungover.
I have felt that way all weekend, sitting in the car for 12 hours going to Colorado and just eating junk food all the way there. It almost ruined my time there.
Really?
Absolutely. And then I promised myself I wasn't going to eat anything all the way home and did it. And so today I'm juicing.
Bob, what were you saying?
No, it's true. When you eat, if you download with all kinds of carbs, those are empty calories. Carbs are some of the worst things for you because it turns into sugar within your body. Sugar is the worst thing you can have for your heart. I mean, it's going to put on weight, but it's a killer. It's
Yeah.
a slow killer. It's a slow way to die.
Yeah.
You know, alcohol is a little faster.
Yeah.
But the sugar highs are a slower way. So
Yeah.
the end result is the same.
I remember one of my, I'm fortunate that I didn't have a low bottom. I had a couple low bottoms in the middle, but it wasn't a low bottom that drove me to get sober. I decided it was time to get sober, and I was going to do it by Easter, and I did it the Sunday after Easter. So I was even late on that. But one of my motivations was to lose weight because I was about 40 pounds overweight. I was 220 pounds when I quit drinking. I thought, well, I'll lose 20 pounds by just quit drinking, right? No, I gained 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And my wife would say to me, well, if you've got the willpower not to drink, why don't you have the willpower to eat correctly? And tell me if this is the right answer. My answer was, well, I can go without no alcohol, but I can't go without no food.
Right.
Now I have a problem with so many people say that, but it's I can't drink everything there is to drink. I just can't drink alcohol. But there are plenty of other things to drink. Same with food. There's only certain foods I can't eat because it triggers that pleasure part of my
really?
brain. And so there's certain foods I can't
Like what?
eat.
Name a couple.
Chocolate. I can't stop once I start.
Really?
And potato chips. I haven't had potato chips in about 28 years.
Really?
Absolutely. Lots of things I've quit because I can't start.
I got peanut M&Ms in the desk over there.
No, I wouldn't start those. Can't start
Okay.
because I can't stop.
So you're a perfect commercial for the Lay's potato chip people. One you can't have another.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've got two lovely ladies in the room today. Kim Brangocchio, who is the director at Powell CDC, and Lila Stafford, who is one of the counselors there. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat watching the chat, who is also a forensic scientist. That's his real job. And he is one of the top witnesses, testifiers.
Expert witnesses.
He's an expert witness in the area of alcohol and addiction and has been a witness in over 1,000 cases nationwide. Father Tattoo, who I noticed when you walked in, you're looking a little bulky here. Are you just putting on some sympathy weight for your wife being 9 months pregnant or what?
We learned how to make funnel cakes over the weekend.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that probably was a mistake.
Homemade funnel cakes. All right. And when we come back, we're going to hear a little bit more about Kim's story and then try to give you some ideas of things you can look for within people who may have food addictions or may have alcohol or drug addictions. That's today on the 19th day of August in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here from Powell CDC, this is Recovery Monday.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
This is Dan Fry, host of A Rebels Cause Radio, and I'm here to ask you a question. Are you tired of being marketed a second-rate product at a first-rate price? Or perhaps more importantly, do you want to wear something that shows who you are, which is a Christian, but doesn't look silly or even worse, just theologically incorrect? I want to introduce you to Wrath and Grace Clothing. They're a company that wants to provide you with clothes that you actually like, prices you can afford, and most importantly, they offer a sound, biblical message that represents who you are as a Christian. From the message presented in the graphics to the fit and finish, they have made their company on first-rate designs and high-quality fabrics and inks, and offered at a price you can afford. Wrath and Grace Clothing. Their mission is to proclaim the wrath and the grace of a sovereign God, one shirt at a time. Go to wrathandgrace.com to check out all their designs. That's wrathandgrace.com.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
19th day of August, 21 minutes after the hour. This is Recovery Monday, and we appreciate you taking the time. Now, if you go to Webcast One, O-N-E, Live, so that's W-E-B-C-A-S-T, Webcast, like a broadcast. This is a webcast. The word one, live.com, and you go to archives. Go to shows. And it'll pop down, it'll say Recovery Monday, and then click on that, and then click on archives. And all the shows that we've ever done, I think we've done 14 now, something like that. They're all there, and you can see them, you can download them, you can put them into your social media, you can take the link and put it into your email. Those shows are public domain on a cloud. So feel free to share them, feel free to download them, feel free to edit them, feel free to, put them on a thumb drive and give to somebody and say, hey, this is a show I heard the other day. I just wanted to pass it on to you. And maybe you're giving it to them because you think they may be an addict or an alcoholic or a food addict or something like that. Or you know that the husband or the spouse or somebody in their family, somebody that they love and somebody that they have said, I'm really concerned about Bob. I'm really concerned about Ann. I'm really concerned about my husband, my wife, my friend at work. Maybe just by giving them this on a thumb drive or on a link, and they sit alone in their home, in their office, in their car, on their smartphone, and they can just hear it and watch it. Maybe that's what God wants you to do for them. Maybe that's all you're thinking about getting them sober and calling for help and making sure the insurance is there and making sure they're not fired from their job and they've got to. Maybe all God wants you to do is to hear this show, get that idea, and pass it forward. It's that easy to follow the will of God and the Holy Spirit to help somebody else. Because the bottom line is, until they want help, they're not going to get help. But you can be informed about places like Powell CDC and where they can go to get that help when the time comes. Just a thought. All right, Kim Brangocchio is with us today. Is your husband Michael listening?
I don't think so. He's in Oskaloosa this afternoon.
Oh, no, he probably
said
isn't.
He would miss it.
Yeah, he probably. They don't even have internet down in Oskaloosa, do
probably
they?
not.
I don't even think they're still riding horses down there, aren't
so,
they? Yeah, I think so. And Lila Stafford, who's I'm so sorry to hear that career in Vegas as a can-can girl didn't work out.
You won't let up on that.
Did anybody ever say anything to you about that?
No.
Oh, okay. Lila was gone one day, and so Dee Hummel and I decided that she was in Vegas trying out for the can-can girl.
Oh, there you go. Well, I didn't know that.
All right, so we're talking about addictions and isms, and both of the young ladies before me would tell you that in their history, food. Now, you say addiction, you say
It's a coping
mechanism.
for
All
me.
right. And you both said that in a group of 8 women one time, you found that all 8 of you suffered from or suffered with food addiction as well as alcoholism or drug abuse or something like that.
Correct.
And I said before we went to the break that for me, it's easy to not drink alcohol because I don't have just a little, or I don't have that certain type, or it's okay to drink this wine and not that wine, or beer and not alcohol. You just sustain from all of it, and I'm fine. But with food, it doesn't work that way. And you even took it one step further, and I want to continue with that conversation, that certain foods would trigger you, and one would be a potato chip. I couldn't put a bag of potato chips in front of you.
No.
The whole
Well,
thing-
today, because I haven't had it in 28 years, but I don't even think about it. But there was a time that if I started with one, I would eat the whole bag without blinking an eye.
So you were traveling this weekend. You would go and you would stop at a Come and Go or a Casey's or wherever it was. When you see a bag of potato chips, is there any pull, any trigger, anything?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Will be after today, won't it?
Well, I know what it's the same thing with alcohol. I know what it does to me, so I just say no. But there are other things that I've recently quit that are harder, just like alcohol was at the beginning, where you're teetering back and forth. And those were the things that I jumped in and ate this weekend just because I was bored. I was in the car. I wanted something to eat. And then I just felt horrible, emotionally and physically both.
Okay, now the physically, I don't get. Like, tell me something you ate. Come on, confession's good for the soul. Father tattoos right there. Just act like you're doing confession.
I had a whole, like the theater box of hot tamales. The whole thing. Now, you would usually share that with somebody, but I ate that whole thing.
I think that's 7 Hail Marys, maybe.
And what's he say? And
He said that's 7 Hail Marys.
Oh, okay. I can't. I only drink water. I don't drink pop.
So when you're devouring, and I don't mean to be sarcastic, but you got to understand, to those of us that don't have an issue with food like that, when you say, and I'm going to do it a little dramatically, I ate an entire box of theater-size hot tamales.
Well, here's what I say to myself. I'm only going to have 1 or 2 of these, and then I'll feel okay.
So why didn't you just throw the box out the window then? Or give it to Jim?
Well, because deep down inside, I know that I may need it in just a little while. It's the same thing that goes on when you're doing alcohol. I just will take a couple, and then I'll feel okay. So then I have a couple of them, and then I set it down, and then I'm bored, or whatever, and it's like, well, 2 more would sound okay.
Well, what does Jim say, your husband, who you're traveling
He's
with?
doing the same thing. So that both of us are into this, and it's when I'm on a good wavelength, I think I've got everything under control, and he's pigging out eating junk food, then I'll go right back.
And the other thing to consider too is your mental will affect your physical. Meaning that you were stressed mentally, you were really bugged because it goes against everything you believe. And that, in turn, can cause you to feel terrible physically inside. It's like when you see something like destruction, like tornado damage,
Right.
and you see that, it hits you, it impacts you, all of a sudden you feel sick to your stomach. Very similar.
So you put a ton of calories, sugar, stuff that's hard to digest.
French fries. That was the other thing all weekend. Every place we stopped, I'd stop and get French fries.
Were they sweet potato fries?
One place it was.
Okay,
So-
they're good.
Because they're better for you.
So did you wake up this morning with a food hangover?
Absolutely.
Really?
Emotionally and physically.
Okay. And so what will you do to physically get yourself back where you want to be after eating all those fries and Jolly Ranchers?
First of all, I'm wearing my big girl pants today because I can't fit anything else. And then I'm juicing.
Oh.
Just with fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Until I can.
Is that a product that you can buy, or is that something you juice
No,
at home?
I just juice at home.
Jack LaLanne juicer?
Sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
NutriBullet.
NutriBullet. Okay. Kim, yours wasn't like that, right?
No.
Tell me what yours was like.
Well, mostly I used food to cope.
Okay.
Ever since I've been small.
Stressed out, you'd eat what?
Right.
Anything?
Well, I do think that carbs are one of those things that seem to be more like what alcohol had that effect on me, that somehow it changes the sugar in your body. And so at first it's probably a calming thing to have a carbohydrate, whether it's fries or potato chips or, chocolate or something like that. And then it turns into a vicious cycle because I'm mad at myself for doing that. And then I just eat because I'm mad at myself or ashamed.
Okay.
And I did the same thing, with cigarettes and alcohol. And
so is a bad day for you? You heat up a whole bag of meatballs?
It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever is there, I will consume more than I should of that.
All right. So my answer would be then have nothing in the refrigerator and in the cupboards, but what you can eat, what you should be eating.
Right.
That's not true?
That's not possible. I mean, I have a family and kids.
Well, give them their own refrigerators.
Yeah.
Put locks on them.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work, though.
No. And so you have to deal with what's going on inside. What is it that you're eating over? What is your self-worth? What is,
You had my wife and I over to your home earlier this summer, and you made an incredible, I think it was pork.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Was that hard for you to prepare that much food? And because you did a great job. I don't know how many things we had, but we must have had 5 or 6 different things to eat, including dessert. Is that hard? I mean, are you shaking a little?
No.
Okay.
I think, Lila talked a little bit about it. I think when you are stressed or when you've got a lot of things going on, I mean, the HALT acronym is certainly appropriate for anything. That if you're
I don't know the HALT
hungry, angry, lonely, tired, if you're any of those, emotions, angry, lonely, tired, you're going to be more at risk for using a coping mechanism like alcohol or drugs or food or cigarettes or.
Now, is this? I don't know what the Holy Spirit feels like all the time, but I just had a thought that there's somebody out there who is weeping because we're talking about what they're struggling with, and it's a secret they've kept.
Yeah.
Is Powell CDC a place they can call? I mean, usually you just deal with drugs and alcohol. Will you also admit or counsel outpatient someone who is struggling with food the way I struggle with alcohol, the way alcoholics struggle with alcohol?
If someone was only struggling with food, then there are other places that I would refer them.
Okay.
For me, I, moved from food into alcohol and, other things. And so, a regular recovery at Powell is certainly appropriate for someone like me that has kind of cross addictions. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you said, I'm not going to eat, but I'll drink a little bit, and that'll make me feel better, and I won't be eating. A lot of people, when they drink too much, including myself, don't have the willpower to resist the other things. So I'd not only be drunk, but I'd be eating.
Right.
Same?
Right, yes.
And that's just all the accuser, right? It's the accuser coming in and finding what our Achilles heel is and doing whatever he can do to keep us away from the light of God, right?
Yep.
And I hope people listening understand that. I hope you don't listen to this show and just think that, we're all a bunch of drunks or drug addicts or whatever. Everybody has something. And if you don't, wow, you're awesome. I mean, really. But it's food, it's alcohol, it's drugs, it's pornography, it's gambling. It's depression, it's isolation, It's anger. It's swearing. You know, if you sit at Prairie Meadows and pour $20 into the ding, ding, ding machine, fair to say no different than an alcoholic? Because they can't stop.
Right.
Ruins their... I mean, Tom Coates comes on this show and he just talks about the tragedies of lives that are ruined by people who start with ding, ding, ding machines.
Yeah.
And it's an hour and it's $10 and they walk. And then the next weekend it's half a day and it's $100 and they walk. And then before you know it, it's the Social Security check, it's the deferment check, it's the disability check, it's the it's just everything.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our next break. And when we come back, signs everywhere. A sign. Remember that? Okay. Put my long hair under my hat and said, okay. We're going to talk about signs that you can look for among family members and friends and coworkers of people who may need to have a conversation, who may need to have an associate, who may need to have some help, maybe some counseling, maybe some outpatient or inpatient treatment. But we're not only just going to talk about the alcohol or the drugs, which sometimes can be so obvious, but the food, the pornography, the hate, the depression, the isolation. Do you know somebody who only smiles when you smile at them and otherwise the frown's turned upside down? No, the frown is on right, and you just can't seem to get them to smile and be happy unless they put a facade on real quick and fake it. You know, the one that turns around and there's that smile, but when you're looking at them and they're not looking at you and they just frown. How do we help those brothers and sisters in Christ that are like that? We'll talk about that when we come back. Live here on Recovery Monday from Powell CDC, powered by webcast1live.com.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
19th day of August in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Recovery Monday. My co-host, of course, is Lila Stafford from Powell CDC, and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, who is also an expert on isms, as he testifies across this great land, has done it thousands of times for alcohol and drug dependency. And, of course, we're being produced today by the overly plump Father Tattoo. Well, he's being a good guy. He's gaining some pity weight because his wife's so pregnant.
I'm just trying to catch up with Mac.
Yeah, thanks.
Because I want my cardiologist to tell me that my heart's going to explode.
Yeah, he said that he's just trying to catch up with me so his cardiologist will tell him that his heart's going to explode. I have an Indian cardiologist, and she's a great woman. I love her. But she looked at me one day last October, and she said, if you don't lose weight, you're just going to go boom.
Oh no.
And so I've gained 7 pounds since then. All right, let's talk about signs. And some of you listening may think, well, that's easy. That's simple. Of course, if I see that. If I get into my husband's car and on the passenger side and at the foot is 3 empty fifths of vodka, obviously, I'm going to think he has a drinking problem. But to some people, that's not obvious. To some people, that's just the wrong place to throw away an empty bottle. So people always ask, well, how do you know if I'm an alcoholic? How do you know if you're an alcoholic? And there is no clinical answer, right? There is no pat answer, is there?
Right.
Right, okay.
Here's what I tell people, though. If it's causing problems in your life, then quit. Doesn't make any difference what you call it. If it's causing problems, quit.
Okay, but 4 years ago, I would have said to you, well, it doesn't cause any problems when I'm drinking. When I'm drinking, nobody's around. I'm isolated. I'm just sitting in the basement.
Then try it for a while and see.
Try what?
Quitting.
Oh, okay. I asked somebody the other day how their relationships were. And they said, well, I don't know, probably okay. And I said, well, do you have any relationships that have ended badly? And he jokingly said, I don't have relationships that end any other way. And I said, that may mean you drink too much. Yeah, but they don't end when I'm drunk. And I said, being an alcoholic isn't about having alcohol in you. It's about a set of minds. It's a mindset. It's about how we react to different things in life.
Yeah, but I had back in the day when I was single, I had lots of guys drop me because of my drinking. And I just thought, I blamed it on them. It wasn't my drinking. It was, they just couldn't handle it.
Right.
But it was always their problem, not mine.
Right. And I would say that's another sign that you're an alcoholic, is it's never your problem.
Right.
And please remember that alcohol, and jump in here because I'm the rookie on the group here, but to me, what I've learned is alcoholism is more about the actions when you're sober than the actions when you're drunk.
Well, in some ways it is. In some ways it is what is the prelude to you drinking too much and keeping on going. The alcoholism or when you're under the influence, a lot of times you don't have any ability to control what you're doing at that point in time. Right. So it is, it's what you're leading up to. I always think it's what's going on in your mind. Yeah. What are you thinking about yourself or other people? Lila's right. What are your relationships like?
Obsessive thinking.
I don't know what that means. Obsessive over anything?
Where are you going to get the next drink? Yeah. When are you going to get that? How much do you need?
Okay. Is it also, I can't believe that officer stopped me and gave me a ticket. I wasn't going that fast. I ought to go to court. I ought to argue with him. And you're on the phone complaining to everybody. And you go home and you take it out on the wife and the dog. And when you get to work, you tell the job and your friend. Is that also obsessing?
Yep.
Yes. It's also blaming.
Yes.
It was the policeman's fault. It's not my fault. When you see someone blaming, it's always someone else's problem. Then you might look at what's going on.
Or even worrying about the future.
Yep.
Worrying about the future.
Yep.
The unknown.
That's right. That's in the promises, isn't it? Something about when you no longer worry about is that no? It's okay. It's all right.
Well, the other piece is spending time alone. If you're spending a lot of time alone, the worse an addiction gets, usually you are more and more alone because you either need to be alone so that you can sneak more of that, or nobody wants to be around you, you know, it gets in the way of everything in life.
Yeah,
isolating.
It's kind of funny because anybody who doesn't have experience with alcoholism, either through somebody else or with themselves, will tell you that the alcoholic is either the guy with the bag and the bottle under the bridge, or it's the loudmouth with the lampshade on his head at the party.
Right.
And that may be also, but the majority of alcoholics are the ones isolated in their homes, in their man caves, in their kitchens, in their scrapbooking room, whatever it is.
That was me.
Yeah.
I was sitting in my chair, passed out every night after a fifth of vodka, waking up the next morning. Oh, I just hate myself. Why I'm not throwing out bottle after bottle of, vodka, and then going back to the store and buying another fifth and drinking that until I was passed out.
Now, did you quit before or after you got married and had kids?
Oh, before.
Before.
No. I mean, after. I was married. We were married 10 years before I had kids. And so I was drinking. I still drank for about a year after I had my daughter, Sarah.
Okay. So what did your husband, if he were sitting here, what would he say life was like when you sat in your chair night after night and passed out? I mean, he had to be aware, right?
Oh, absolutely. He was aware. He knew I was depressed and discouraged and trying to get better. And, I was one of those people that still got up every morning and went to work. I don't know how I managed to do that.
Yeah, functioning alcoholic.
Yep. And then I would, and there were some days when I didn't start as early and I would drink a lot, at 8 or 9 or 10 and then just pass out and go to bed.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't any fun to be around. I wasn't having good conversations. I was not engaged. I wasn't taking care of things around the house the way that I would have.
Were you that way when you and your husband were dating and then got married?
No.
This came after the marriage?
Yeah.
So it was his fault, right? Well, you didn't do this before I married you.
Yeah. And really, it didn't start for quite a while. We were probably married, I don't know, 6 or 7 years before my alcohol use got bad. We drank together, but he is one of those people that you would call a normie. He could drink one beer, smoke one cigarette.
Now, was food an issue at that time, though, when you weren't drinking before that?
Yeah.
But he probably didn't see that, did he?
That food was an issue?
Yeah.
Well, he's known I struggled with that as well.
Okay.
I'd be on this diet or that diet or mad at myself about this or that.
But don't hit me with anything, but that's just a chick thing, isn't it? I mean, don't all women kind of go back and forth on their weight and I'm on this diet, then I'm going to be on this one, or no?
I don't think so. I think it's what's going on in your mind. I mean, I think, yes, that it is kind of a cultural norm for women to be worried, and we sure see that in models and, the influence.
Oh.
But I think that there are women who really struggle with it, who it's really
You mentioned that
more of a problem.
You've probably been a good weight always, but it's what's going on in your head.
Right.
And I remember some guy saying to me, would you quit talking about diets because you've looked the same always?
Right.
And I have people say that to me all the time. Why are you worried about your weight? And it's like, it is what goes on in my head. Because that's where that's where I'm feeling bad.
It's when you have a binge of food or a binge of alcohol or, and you're doing something that you don't want to do, I mean, it would be great if I could drink a glass of wine, but I can't.
So you fully abstain?
I fully abstain.
Okay.
It didn't work for me. I mean, I tried and failed a lot of times before I finally didn't
Kept
drink.
going out for research. And
Yeah.
I was surprised once. I had been sober about 8 months, and I've never had it licked. But at that point, I felt I had it licked, and I went to an Episcopalian service and had communion. Had no impact on me. And I called a priest and asked him why that is, and he said, you can't get drunk on, what's that called?
Communion.
Yeah, but consecrated wine, that you can't get drunk on consecrated wine.
Oh.
I'm
I don't even dip my wafer in the.
I don't either.
It's. Yeah. I don't even want the taste because I don't. I mean, honestly, would that hurt me? No, but
you never know.
Why take the chance?
We're coming back on Recovery Monday here live on webcast1live.com, brought to you by Powell CDC.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Okay, we are back. It's 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and Salem Radio Network News, followed by Pastor Michael Mudloff and True Blue here on 99.3 KTIA. Next week, David Captain, who is the what?
Manager.
He's the manager.
So he's your boss.
Yes.
All right, and he's going to be with us from Powell CDC, and then as weeks go on, we're going to find different graduates of Powell CDC and different people who have had different experiences in life, and we're just going to keep coming back on Mondays, and we appreciate you being patient and tolerant and accepting of us as we try to educate, and I don't say that arrogantly, but just try to share with you what we've learned about humanness and spirituality. And what really drives us to be abusive to ourselves. And is there anybody in here that would disagree that with what I said earlier, and it's the accuser?
Right.
It's the accuser finding that weakness that he can, tap into that makes us feel guilt and shame that separates us from a better relationship with God.
Yeah.
With God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. I mean, if we could just figure that out, if everybody could just figure that out and surrender that to God, and like it or not, you learn how to do that in a 12-step program. You're sitting at home or driving down the road going, I don't know how to surrender anything. Because, when we grew up, what is surrender? Bad, right?
Right.
Cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers.
It meant you lost.
Yeah, it meant you lost. Well, when you have a relationship with Christ and you surrender, you're the winner. You're the big winner. And the great thing about a 12-step program is that you learn the tools of how to surrender. I mean, I have thanked God, I don't know how many times, for the maturity I received from the 12-step program.
Yep.
I got to grow up. I wasn't stuck in my little kid's body, my 8-year-old boy's body anymore. I had the tools now to grow up. I had great parents. They taught them to me. They just didn't stick. In a 12-step program, you can learn
that surrender, by the way, sometimes you have to do several times a day,
right.
Maybe once every minute for a while.
Well, it's interesting because somebody in our Saturday morning 12-step program said that she has successfully graduated from 4 treatment centers. And, of course, that means that she's gone back out at least 3 times.
Right.
For research. That's what we call when you go back out and you begin to drink or use your addiction again. We call it, it's just research. Because this time you think you may have figured it out. Yeah, you're the only person on earth who has figured out that I can drink like a normal person. You can't. You said something interesting earlier. there's a term in the 12-step world called normies.
Yes.
And those are the people who can open a beer, take 4 sips, set it down, and never touch it again.
Yes.
An alcoholic would ask you at the end, are you done with that beer? Because I'll be glad to finish it for you. And when I first got into the 12-step program, I hated that term. And I still kind of hold on to the shirt tails of the fact that we're the normies. Because we're the ones that stood up and said there's something wrong. Now, maybe we had to get beat over the head, with a big stick, but somehow we surrendered and realized, hey, I have a greater power in my life. His name is Jesus. I can go to him. I can surrender my life, and he will heal me of these addictions. Isn't that normal behavior? Human behavior to see something that's wrong and fix it? I don't think I'm going to change the language in the 12-step programs. I think those people that don't drink will always be normies. And by the way, that's one of my definitions of an alcoholic, is that if you're sitting at a table of 5 people and everybody at the bar or dinner, and it's time to go home, and 3 or 4 of the glasses aren't emptied yet, and it drives you crazy to the point where you think you have to sit at the table and finish them all before you leave, that's an alcoholic.
Rather than saying that we're normal, I would say we're winners.
Fine. I like that too.
That's right.
We have figured out.
Because I do think different than the normal person.
Yeah. And I would very humbly submit that we have a peace and serenity to our overall lives that maybe some people just don't find.
It seems like to me that we have finally some grace, that we've given ourselves some grace when we're in recovery, or that we've found that the accuser's voice is not as loud as it was.
Yeah.
There are some people who, seem like they kind of get that without the hard lessons that some of us need. But some of us, we just have to, we really need the extra support of 12 steps. And
well, I'm going to give you a different view at 5,000 feet, though. That God knew there would be people out there who he would not reach before sobriety. Mm-hmm. And so he allowed some of us who he always knew we would be connected to him. He always knew that we would identify as a child of God.
Yeah.
He put us through those so we could relate to those people. So we could reach out to those people and tell them that there really is good news.
There is.
There is something beyond food addiction. There is something beyond alcoholism. There is something beyond pills. At least I'd like to think that was the reason. Yep. I'd like to think I didn't go through everything I went through the last 35 years without serving my God, which I call Jesus Christ, in a way that I couldn't have had I not experienced that human experience.
I absolutely feel that way. I feel it's a calling.
Yeah.
And it does put all that stuff that I've done in the past to use.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many times I've heard in 12-step meetings, I'm so glad I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. I'm so glad I learned these things because I would not have learned them without them.
Hated that, though, when I first came into the program, when someone say, I'm glad I'm an alcoholic. It's like, are you kidding me? But now I can say that.
Well, I had a pastor tell me just a couple of months ago that he is in love with 12-step programs. He just thinks they're great, except one thing he'd change. He would say, my name is Mac. I am a faithful follower of Jesus Christ who suffers from alcoholism.
Right.
Rather than identifying ourselves as an alcoholic or as an addict.
If you listen at some 12-step meetings, there are people that will identify them. Not very many.
Yeah, but
there are some that will identify themselves that way.
People within Celebrate Recovery do.
No, there are people outside of that, though, that I know.
Yeah.
That still say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one last question for you ladies before you leave. Are we a human being having a spiritual experience, or are we a spiritual being having a human experience? You can think about that. Are we a human being having a spiritual experience, or are we a spiritual being having a human experience?
I would say both. I mean, we're Christ's children, and he came down to earth to become a human, and he's a spiritual being, and we're his children, and I think it's both.
Lila?
I have felt like I'm on both sides of that at different times. When I'm struggling, I feel like I'm a human trying to get spiritual.
Robert?
Or you know my answer. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. My program has kind of moved me to an overall view of my existence as a unborn, as a human, and then as someone who's in eternity. So, all right, kids, thank you very much. Kim, love you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Lila, see you next Monday with David Capstan, and I'll see you tomorrow right here live on The View from a Pew. And if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Powered by WebcastOneLive.com. I'm J. Michael McCoy.